Hello everybody! This video is going to be my obligatory teacher video, or at least one of them, because I have another one in mind. So, the teacher I will be talking about in this video will be my art teacher from middle school. And for some context when it comes to her specifically, she was the only art teacher in the entire school, so I took art all 3 years I was in middle school. And as a result, I had her as my teacher for all 3 years. And I will give some more context, however, this will be for myself. Context about me as a person before entering this class. At this time, I was 11 or so when I was entering the class. And as you can tell, that was prime anime fanatic age. So as you can guess, I was very, very into anime, especially the drawing it aspect, because I of course took art because I had gotten into drawing just about a year or two prior, and my interest in art was primarily due to anime. I developed the interest in art because of my interest in anime. And so I would just draw anime and anime alone. I would, of course, attempt that also well-known realistic eye picture that so many young artists like to draw. But that was quite literally it for my talent, or not talent, but skill in art outside of anime. Now, as a person, I was also hitting puberty at this time because, again, I was about 11 years old. I had actually been going through some emotional issues beforehand, but at this point in time, I had just delved deep into depression, and I was not very pleasant for other people to be around. I was not a very nice person. I was either downcast or just straight up mean to other people. I was very independent, you could say, for an 11 to 12-year-old. But due to many different things, I was just not the nicest person to be around. And while I was well behaved in my classes, I was not very nice to teachers that I did not take a quick liking to. This executed itself in the form of me being curt, and in the form of me being very dismissive of my teachers. I would not listen to them, I would basically ignore them, and I would not acknowledge them. And if I were to talk to them, I'd be very straightforward, very blunt, and very short with what I would say. Now, let's get to the class. I was not a big fan of my art teacher because she was very strict, and she was very easily overstimulated, especially by the students of the school. The school was not, and still is not, very well known for being very good for students. It has high bullying rates from what I know. Nobody I know who has gone there has had a very good time going there. And as you should be aware, so many people like to take art as a class because they think it's easy and that they can slack off and get that easy A, which is not quite the case. You should be listening because there are things you will be learning in that class that aren't quite painting or drawing, whatever you feel like. But like most electives, students will slack off in the class and they will not take it very seriously. It doesn't help that the subject was art, so the teacher was very overstimulated by these rowdy students, and she would often yell and get very upset with us because we were misbehaving or ignoring her. Ignoring her was the biggest issue because she was very much of a pushover, I would say. She wouldn't really punish students aside from yelling and getting upset herself, which, looking back at it, I feel so awful for her because she had it so rough with the students being so cruel. Now, in my case, I wasn't a big fan of her because she was a little uptight, to be frank, but I executed my feelings about her in the form of ignoring her, of course, not paying attention during class, and by doing my own thing, basically. So, as a result, I was one of many students she was not particularly fond of. However, in relation to the previous information, I was very big on drawing anime, and she happened to take a very big liking to my art. She was a very big fan of what I would draw, and she thought I was very skilled, at least for all of the students she had been surrounded by, and of course for my age. I was 11 or 12 again. But due to her fondness of my art, she would encourage me to go and enter competitions and contests for my art and for others' art. But ultimately, she was not a very big fan of me because I was incredibly dismissive of her, and because I was not very nice to her. I would not listen to her like she was hoping for from the students. But she was fond of my art, and as a result, she made sure to encourage the opportunities that I had for my art. I was probably one of the better liked students of the classes that I had, but I know for a fact that she did not particularly like me because I was not a very good student in her class. I was not a very good person at the time, and I was just very unpleasant, especially for her, and if I could go back to the class now, I would apologize to her, but that's not quite possible, so I can just talk about it in a YouTube video. Anyway, that would be the basics of the story. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope you liked it. I will see you guys soon, so goodbye.